The war in Ukraine has entered a new phase as Russian forces intensified their assault on key regions. Russia carried out a massive attack on Kyiv after pummeling Kharkiv and pushing Ukraine on the edge. The death toll has risen to 19 in the last 2 days. This next report shows you the moment Russia shattered Ukraine's capital and the aftermath.
Kyiv is under attack. Russia has unleashed a devastating combination of missiles and drones, attacking high-value targets and turning the Ukrainian capital into a firestorm. These are the images of sirens blaring as Russia carried out its bombing campaign on Kyiv. Air defense systems activated to counter missile attack on Kyiv. The Russian attack triggered loud explosions and multiple fires across the city. Plumes of smoke clouded the city's skyline as firefighters battled the blazes. Massive fires engulfed several districts, damaging commercial buildings, burning vehicles, and reducing houses to ruins. The Russian strikes forced residents to run for shelters. Many thronged underground metro stations. Russia claims the strike targeted a meeting of commanders and Western instructors, but Ukraine has rejected Moscow's claim.
Many around the world have spoken out after this attack, clearly condemning Russian terror. Everyone who sees this and does not turn a blind eye, who speaks the truth clearly and directly, deserves gratitude, not only from us in Ukraine, but from the entire world. Staying silent about the fact that it is Russia killing children with ballistic missiles is wrong and dangerous.
Russia carried out the deadly assault using its strategic and nuclear-capable Tu-95 bomber, the same machine that was seen flying off the Alaska coast last November as Russia increased military presence in the Arctic. The Tu-95 are designed for long-range missions with a range exceeding 14,966 kilometers, allowing them to strike targets globally. Its large size allows it to carry a significant payload of 20,000 kg. The attack comes 2 days after a deadly Russian missile strike in Zelensky's hometown Kryvyi Rih claimed 18 lives and leaving dozens injured. Russia has intensified its aggression as President Trump pushes for a partial ceasefire. Moscow says Russia and the US could reach out to each other again as early as next week. But can Trump pressure Putin to agree to a truce, or is it just the start of an even longer battle? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Dr. Glenn Deason is a professor of international relations at the University of Southeastern Norway. He is also an editor at the Russia in Global Affairs journal. Dr. Deason is now joining us live from Norway. Great to see you, sir, and thank you very much for making time for us. What message is Russia trying to portray here? On one end, they say they are in talks with the US. They will adhere to proposals laid out by both Putin and Trump. And on the other, they are escalating the war and now targeting the heart and center of Ukraine.
Well, I think it's no secret that the negotiations have stalled for a bit. So we see now the war being continued on all sides. For Russia, we see that they're intensifying, of course, their attacks against the entire front line. And I think a massive offensive in the near future can also be expected. And again, on the American side, they also continue now sending weapons. They still provide intelligence. So the war still continues as it did. And I think, as we also learned from this New York Times article a few days ago, that given that how much the US had contributed to this war to begin with, we see now, both sides effectively continuing what they have been doing for the past 3 years. So I think there's, that the Russians have been arguing that they would like to get a diplomatic settlement, but in the absence of it, they will continue to fight the war. And I think they now see the Ukrainians being on their back foot in a very weak position. And the concern from the Russians, at least what they're expressing, is that the Western countries aren't serious about negotiations, that they're simply trying to buy time to rearm Ukraine and prolong the war. So there's a lot of distrust on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Dissen, in your view, do you think these ceasefire talks are a facade? And what's the end game here? President Zelensky is continuously asking Trump to intervene, but how far can Trump go and what can he do at this juncture?
Well, I don't see any indications that well, maybe the United States, but I don't see Zelensky wanting this peace. I think the Russians, they want peace, but they have set very strong conditions. And I think the Europeans have also played a very, I guess, unhelpful role. Now, there's a lot of accusations going both ways, that the Americans are accusing the Russians of dragging their feet in these negotiations, and they've been pushing the idea that they will offer sanctions relief for a ceasefire, while the Russians have said that they don't really need any sanction relief. They want to resolve instead the underlying causes of the war, that is the broken European security architecture. In other words, they want an end to the NATO expansionism and restoring Ukraine's neutrality. So again, what the Russians have asked is, ceasefire would be good, but Putin, he made a point. Who will actually observe this ceasefire that is being upheld? Will NATO spend the time of the ceasefire to simply rearm Ukraine? What will happen during the ceasefire or even after? Will there be a political settlement? And I think a key concern is also that the Europeans are threatening to send troops into Ukraine during a ceasefire, which makes it impossible from the Russian perspective to approve it. So they see this also as being an approach by the Europeans to sabotage these peace agreements, because the key concern from the Russian side is that any ceasefire would just become another Minsk agreement, which was the 7 years when a political settlement was not implemented. Instead, it was just buying time. So I think that in the absence of negotiations moving forward, I think that we should expect this war to intensify quite dramatically as well. So it looks like all these attacks by Russia is simply preparing the front line, because they mobilized a lot of troops and they're preparing for a front that is offensive across the entire front line.
All right, Professor of International Relations at the University of Southeastern Norway, Dr. Glenn Dissen, good to see you. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you for talking to us today.
Good to be with you.